Hello, the day I've been looking forward to is finally here. My first submission from PSA is back. Yeah, the first impression I had was when they were delivered. They were heavy. They sent my 15 book submission back in 2 separate boxes, but they feel like they're like twice as heavy as a CGC box or boxes of the same quantity. So heavy that I don't even want to set them up here on my desk. I'm afraid it'll collapse the dang thing. These things, this box probably has 5 books and it feels like 10, you know. This one here is probably the 10, and that is really freaking heavy. I mean, you could get a hernia bringing these books upstairs. I was like, whew, out of breath. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open these up. I got some notes here because I want to make sure we cover a lot of things that have been on my mind about what I am wondering about with PSA. First of all, though, before I open the boxes, before I forget, turnaround time. So it took about 6 weeks from the time I shipped to the time it came back. That's the way I measure turnaround time. CGC has been significantly quicker recently. I've had books, just regular submissions, come back in 2 weeks lately. The average is probably 3 to 3.5 weeks. So they're at least twice as long for at least this one submission as CGC. Okay, so let me unbox these. I want to go ahead and film a lot of the unboxing part because I want you guys to see what it looks like inside the box. Yeah, this is a little bit challenging. I think I just got to figure out the way it works for future reference. Okay, got that. So I'm guessing there's a seam here in the top. So it looks like I'm seeing a shopping bag stuffed in there. I think it might be a shopping bag. No, it's just paper. It looks like a brown paper sack. Right in the top. Looks like we got a piece of foam surrounding the book. So it looks like they got them sitting kind of in a foam holder, and there's slots in the foam. I'll show you right here. So I like that. That's nice that they each sit in their own individual slot. And then they've got more brown paper bags between the slabs to protect them from bumping against each other, so that's good. All right, so let's see what's in here. I'm looking at my list of books. I see the back of this book. Try to see where I'm at on my list here. Okay. See, I'll see if I can cover the grade up here because I haven't looked at the grade yet. It's got like a sticker on top that's holding the bag closed, which I don't mind that. That's kind of cool, actually. Okay. I forget where the grade is on this book. Is it on the left or the right? It's on the left, which is a little bit awkward. Okay. So there's kind of like a wrap, like a visqueen or whatever you want to call it, stuck to this thing, which I guess is just a little bit extra protection. Seems like a little bit of overkill, but whatever, that's fine. Let me get my reading glasses on so I can see this label, because that's one of the things I wanted to really look at in person, is the label. Okay. You can kind of see, it doesn't look like it when you look at these books online, but there is kind of a texture to the white or area. There's like little blue wavies in there. I don't know if you can see it. See if I can get the light out of the way here. Can you kind of see the blue wavies in there? It's kind of nice, actually. It's more visually appealing in person than it looked like online. Now the text is a little bit small. I would like to be able to read. I mean, I've always complained about this on CGC slabs as well. I like this to be a little bit bigger. I like the key information to be just a little bit bigger. I'd like this to be a little bit bigger. Marvel Superheroes, Secret Wars. I know there's a limit to that because, you know, you run out of real estate. They already abbreviated the first part, which is fine. Kind of like the red. You see it up next to a CGC label there. Not too bad. They've done a pretty good job of improving that, I think. Once again, I think this is attractive. Now let me go ahead and reveal the grade. Let's do that first. Secret Wars number 9. I bought it as about a 9.2 raw. And I thought I was able to get it to 9.6. It's a borderline 9.6, 9.8, but you know, it's probably more on the 9.6 side. So we actually did get the 9.6. So, you know, I would expect to probably get 9.8 30% of the time from CGC. So let's look at this case while we got it out here. What's the integrity look like? I do see some big scratches here on the side, which is on the side. You know, I'm not as worried about that, but it is scratched up pretty good, right? Like once I get it up to the camera, I can't see it, but maybe you can see that. See the big scratches? Let's get it in a good light here. Yeah, I don't see any scratches or anything on the face of it, so that's good. Let's just check the side to see how we are, if there's any bend gate issues. Now, it looks flat in there, but you can see how that's kind of, it's almost like a bathroom window. It's kind of got like a frost to it. Yeah, it's hard to see the book in there, but it looks perfectly flat from here. So that's good. I can kind of see almost a glue along maybe seams. It's like where some glue has spread out. That's not too attractive, but I mean, we don't really view these slabs from the top or bottom, so I'm not really too concerned about that. But this thing feels pretty solid. I mean, it's a lot more substantial and heavier. I could weigh it, I guess. I do have a scale out here. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, I got my postal scale ready to go here. Okay, let me put this on here. 1 pound, 11.6 ounces. So about 1 pound, 12 ounces on this one. Let's find, do we have a similar... Yeah, I found it. I actually do have a Secret Wars number 8 here, which should be, you know, about the same weight. I don't think that's a double-sized issue or anything like that, number 9. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like a normal-sized issue. So let me put the CGC slab on there. All right. We're at 1 pound exactly. Exactly 1 pound. Okay, so that is a full 11.6 ounces heavier. It seems to feel more substantial than that, though. I mean, it's probably, what's that? What percentage-wise? It's not twice as heavy, but it's significantly heavier. So it's about 12 ounces heavier, which is not quite a pound. Is that 3/4 of a pound? So 75% heavier. There you go. I'm not a math guy, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right. 75% heavier. Okay, so before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and just go down my list. I'm going to tell you my thoughts now that we've unboxed one. Case integrity. This thing is Fort Knox compared to CGC. So I would give PSA the nod. Now, how are you going to crack this thing out of here if you're always going to clean and press one? Now, that one I don't know, but it's too heavy. I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable hanging it on the wall on these plastic hangers. If anybody can cut the weight down a little bit, it's a little bit of overkill, I think. I mean, it's obviously more substantial, maybe protects a little bit better, but I don't know, the weight's just too much. That's my only concern with that. Label, we already talked about. I think the PSA one is attractive. I don't see anything wrong. I think they can do a little bit better on the font. I like to say a little bit bolder. It's like too skinny, the font right there. 9.6 needs to be 9.6, you know, not little skinny 9.6 or whatever. As far as the website, entering the book, CGC wins that battle. Now, I give PSA a pass. They're just getting into this. So they're probably going to improve as they go. It was just harder to enter the books. Some of the books didn't show up. It was a little bit wonky trying to get the books entered. So CGC's definitely got the win right now as far as entering books into the system. Cost, I got this on their introductory price or whatever of $25, $26, and it was still $5 more for me. It would be $3 more if I didn't have the elite membership with CGC. So yeah, it's already more expensive, and that's the deal. So I think it's going to be about $30 once that deal ends. $30 versus $20. I mean, if you're trying to draw in new customers, you know, and that price could be a little bit prohibitive for people to start submitting to PSA, so they're probably going to be like limiting. Maybe they're just gouging people because they know people are going to try them out, and they're just trying to get a bunch of money right up front. Maybe they'll lower the price later. That's a little bit crappy in my opinion, but you know, it's a company. They're trying to make money. I understand that. It still remains to be seen whether these are going to sell for as much as a CGC slab would. But I'm actually going to be auctioning a lot of these books off on eBay, and I want to just see what prices come back, and we'll look at the last CGC sales, we'll see the current sale, and just see what the margin is. I mean, I'll be able to figure out a percentage if I auction 15 or 20 of these books off. You know, what is the average percentage over the CGC last sale price are we getting with this? So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to do that auction, and we'll see what happens, and I'll do a follow-up video on that. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video as far as that. So let's just go ahead and unbox the rest of the books here. Here's the next thing I want to check is if these books stack like the CGC books do. All right, another one here. It's like another Secret Wars. All right, this is number 5. Okay, I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna take every single one out of here. That's gonna get a little bit monotonous. Secret Wars number 5. Which I had as a borderline 9.6, 9.8. Again, it's about the same quality as the Secret Wars number 9. And bought it once again as it probably came in the same lot of books as number 9. So we're expecting that 9.6, 9.8. And we did get the 9.6 on this one. Now, you know, odds are CGC would have probably given one of those a 9.8, but still too small of a sample size to know. And it's just one grader, so... you know, who knows? And one of those borderline books that could go either way. Okay. All right. I'm really curious about this one. Super Mario's 1. Now, this was graded a 9.4 by CGC, and they always mess up. There's like a crease right here that's a factory defect that is almost on every single copy of this book. And it's not supposed to affect the grade. In fact, I've started including a note telling the grader, reminding the grader that that is a common defect and it should not be considered as a negative factor. It's not, unless it's extreme, but, you know. So anyways, I've been buying these books and doing that. I've been getting a lot of 9.8s doing that. So I bought this as a 9.4 and I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything to it because I wanted to see if PSA would also grade it a 9.4 as it sits. Now, I'll probably crack it and resubmit it if they do not give me the 9.8, but I just wanted as kind of a comparison just to see how the grading is. I think I might have done that on a few more books, but we'll just have to see as we go. So let's just see. They actually got it right. They gave it the 9.8. And I didn't do anything to this book, so that's a positive sign. I did not include a note, by the way. I didn't give them that crutch to know that this is a common defect. So that's exciting. I'm glad that this grader at least knew that, because it's an obvious 9.8. I mean, it's just obvious. So very happy to get that 9.8, and that one I probably will auction, and that is a really good indicator of where the market is for PSA. If that one sells for anywhere near what a CGC one does. Okay, next one. Feels weird covering up the opposite side of the book. Okay, another Secret Wars. This is number 11, probably from the same lot as before. And this one actually is one of the nicer ones in the whole batch. This is actually my second nicest book in this submission. So I expect this to be an obvious 9.8. And no doubt about it, this CGC would give this book a 9.8, well over 90% of the time. And we did get the 9.8. I had a note on here that I submitted this to PSA because it had absolutely 0 color breaks on the spine. It really and really very, very, very few defects. I thought this looks a lot better than a few of the 10.0s I've been seeing from PSA. So I was thinking this could be a 10.0. It didn't get the 10.0 though. It got 9.8. This is one I would submit to CGC and say this might get 9.9. I searched through my collection. I searched through all my books. Luckily, this one I purchased recently, and I thought, man, that could be a PSA 10. But no, we got the PSA 9.8. Once again, I'm going to auction that one as well. So there is one slightly nicer book actually in this lot, even though I think that one could have got 10. And I use a grading point scale when I grade books. I've got actually a free tool. You can search my channel and find it. Just go grading tool. It's also probably in the description. And the next, I don't know if it's the next book. Let's see. It might not be the next book. Actually, it could be. Let's see. Yeah, it isn't. It is the next book. Okay, well, that's a good coincidence. Okay. So, this one I bought locally at a place called Mad Jack's in Matthews, North Carolina, right next to Charlotte. And I could not believe it. And look, it's a freaking newsstand. And it is one of the top 10 quality books I have ever held in my life. I'm talking this thing I would expect. I know I wouldn't have got the 9.9, but this was really, I've been saving it for this, let's just say. This is a one defect book. I don't remember where it is off the top of my head, but it is, I've never seen it. This is actually the #1 newsstand I've ever seen, besides maybe my ASM 315. That one has a little tanning though, so it's actually an upgrade from that. It is a one defect book. It is virtually flawless as per PSA's guidelines. So is it going to get the PSA 10? Huh? What? I am really confused. Gonna have to look at the grader's note on that. I gotta take this out of here. This is ridiculous. What? I don't remember. I have never gotten a 9.6 or lower with the amount of points on this book from my grading tool. Never. I've only had this low of points maybe, like I said, 10 times or less. But those are all 9.8s. So this one is a big shot. I do not know what's going on here. I'll get my glasses on. Wow. That is really curious. Turn my light on again. Still looks just as nice from this angle. Yeah, that's not good. Something ain't right here. That book is shifted way down in the... It is very loose inside. The inner pages of this book are very loose. See how it's hanging out the bottom right there? These staples were as tight as can be on this book, but those inner pages are just sliding around here. Watch. Okay, you see how it's hanging out the bottom there? I'm going to flip it over. Now look. In fact, I didn't even need to tap it. Look. It's just sliding around. Probably not good for me to be doing this, but... Okay. The only thing I can think is that this book was impacted. And that actually brings up a really good point. And this is... People say that these books do not move around inside the slab like they do with CGC. And I say, with my insurance appraising background, looking at wrecked cars, is you want there to be some give. Otherwise, the impact could travel into the book. So let me just say, you actually want the book to move around in there. And you want the inner well to move around. You want the book to move around slightly. So if there is a big impact, the book can maybe shift a little bit, but not be so firmly in place. Because what my fear was, is if it was firmly in place, the cover was like locked. The only thing that can move is the inner pages. And I thought it might be tearing staples or jacking staples up at least, you know. And this is a pretty good indicator that I might have been right. And I hate that it had to happen to a flawless book like this. I'll show you the book. I mean... And you can kind of see on this lower staple, it kind of has a weird look to it now. Like a little wrinkle on it. It may not be showing up on camera. That's not a color break there, that's art. But if you can see that, that's not what I'm talking about. It's like right here. Now one thing I did just notice that's pretty annoying is there's Newton rings. And there's a big scratch right here. Big giant scratch. Now CGC scratches cases too. I could probably... Maybe I can get that off with Polywatch, like I can on a CG case. But there's a big scratch right there. See, well, you can see it. Yeah, right there. Big squiggly scratch. And the back has Newton rings. Now, the back having Newton rings is not such a big deal. I don't know if that's going to show up. Can you see the Newton rings? Yeah, I think you can see them right there. Pretty bad Newton rings right there and all up here and all over here. Yeah, big time Newton rings. Now, let me see if they're on the front. I don't see them on the front. I do see a big fingerprint. I don't think that's mine. Yeah, it came right off. It might have been mine. Yeah, there's a big scratch down here too. Yeah, that doesn't make me too happy that book is so loose inside there. I would never submit a book because I can actually clean that up. See how big those holes are and how it's kind of reamed out? I can fix that. I can I may not be able to tighten the staples up completely, but I can clean that up where it doesn't look like that. So I know that was not that way when I submitted it. Okay, let's just move on. That's a really odd one. I was actually excited to maybe get a PSA 10 on my first submission. If they're a little bit looser, which they seem to be than CGC for the most part. Not seeing that yet, but I mean, it's a small sample size. That's the end of the first box. So let me open up the next one. The books are laying down inside the box, like up against the side. They're not firmly in place. I just noticed that they've all shifted out. I can't really show. I guess I can't lift this to show you. I mean, I can. You kind of see. Let me get this top foam piece off so you can see, because that foam piece is all busted up. So, well, that's just moving around. But that's kind of how it was sitting, with the foam just laying kind of on the side when I opened it. So that's not a good sign. Okay, let's grab the next one. All right, X-Men 96. All right, this will be a good indicator because this has no chance of 9.8, first of all. There's a little bit of a discoloration right here in the X-Men, somewhere on the X, maybe the E right there. And I think it's man-made. I have it as a 9.2. I bought it as a 9.2, and I have it as a 9.2. So, because I didn't think I was getting the 9.8 anyway, I wasn't really worried about the cost, but I thought this would be a good indicator. Is it going to be a 9.2, or what are we going to do? Okay, that's loose. Very, very loose. That is not a 9.6 book. That is definitely lower than a 9.6. So far, the grades have been pretty much what I would expect CGC to give a lot of the time. Could just be they're all over the place on this one, but you can kind of see the discoloration. It's almost like it's an erasure mark or something. Or some kind of weird water damage. I'm not sure. I don't think it's factory. I mean, the book looks dang good in the slab, but it could be like beer goggles. But I'm pretty sure this is a 9.2. Okay, there's a crease here. That corner crease. That's going to eliminate us from getting 9.6 or 8. That's probably about a 9.4 crease there. Oh yeah, and this top corner is jacked up too. You're definitely not getting 9.6, 9.8 with that corner. So it's just an accumulation of defects in that thing there. Is why I think it's a 9.2. I mean, I think 9.2 might be even pushing it on this book. There's several spine ticks. Color breaks is a big one right there. I mean, it's a beautiful presenting book, but it's definitely not a 9.6. So they were loose on that one. Okay, next one. And this video is very long. I guess being the first PSA submission, you know, that's okay. I normally don't like videos this long, but okay, next one. Okay, Transformers 1. Beautiful. And this is a newsstand. So I got this in a lot. And unfortunately, the Transformers 1 didn't have any chance of 9.8. So I thought it would be an excellent one to submit to PSA. And I mean, I'm trying to pick books that I know will sell good at auction, like the X-Men 96, you know, like these Secret Wars books. G.I. Joes tend to do well. Transformers 1 should be, it's a big enough key that it should give you an accurate picture of what's going on. So yeah, I have it as a 9.2. It's actually not quite, it's about the same quality as the X-Men 96. There's just a lot of spine ticks here. You know, it's just an accumulation of defects. So once again, so it would be nice to get this a 9.4 or 9. I would actually consider keeping this book if it gets something like 9.6, because I have a 9.8 direct, but I kind of want to get the 9.8 newsstand as well. So let's just check. We exactly got the 9.2, which is what I anticipated. So that one was accurate. So we'll take that. So that one will be a good one to auction to find out what's going on with that. Pretty cool. So they were really high off on the 96, but Transformers they got right. And actually the Transformers a little bit nicer than the X-Men. I almost dropped it, so heavy. X-Men 96. Oh, let me check this one for Newton rings while I'm at it. I mean, that's one thing about not taking these books out of the bag is I can't tell that. Stuff comes off. I don't mind that. I just think it's a little bit overkill. No Newton rings on the front. But there are Newton rings on the back, so I mean, that's fine. I mean, if they're going to have Newton rings, just put them on the back. Wow, that thing looks better than the 9.2, but once again, cases can lie. I think there might be a corner crease on this somewhere. I can't remember. But yeah, we'll be happy with that 9.2. Next one. Okay, Secret Wars number 8 newsstand. Okay, another good one. Obviously, you see I'm picking books that will auction. And, you know, you don't want to really auction non-keys. That's not really a good indicator because that can be off. But generally, keys are pretty consistent with values and that type of thing. That's why I picked these books. Okay. So I bought it as an 8.5-ish. And I thought I was able to get it to 9.4. Yeah, I didn't think 9.8 is possible. There's like a really crusty spot that left kind of a stain on the back. I had to clean a lot of gunk off this. Yeah, it looked like somebody had sneezed on this book a few times. That's my note. My note is exactly, looks like someone had sneezed on the book multiple times. So I spent a lot of time cleaning all that crusty crap off. And I got the vast majority, but there was one spot back here on the spine that I couldn't do anything with. Didn't do any kind of stain removal, anything like that. I was just happy to get it to the point that I did get it. And I'll be very happy to get that 9.4. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he agrees with me exactly on that one, so we'll take it. Yeah, I'll look all these books. I'll look every single one off camera over and just see if there's any Newton rings on the front later on. I mean, at 2 for 2, they're on the back, you know. Okay, we got a Secret Wars number 4. I think this is a 9.4. There's a small faint crease on the top right here. And that's why I just think it's a 9.4 crease. The book is beautiful otherwise. It's a 9.8, but that one crease is going to take us to 9.2 or 9.4. So we'll go 9.6. Okay. I don't think it's a 9.6 because of that crease is like that long on the back. So I don't know whether they just missed it or what's going on. So you'll notice the submission is not 9.8 heavy. Well, I only have 4 books as 9.8s on my list. So we've gotten 2 so far. The G.I. Joe didn't get it. I still have 2 that I haven't showed you that I had as 9.8. So we'll get to those. So if we get 4 out of whatever, they're 9.8s. That's pretty much what I expected. Okay, G.I. Joe number 22. I had this one as a 9.4 as well. Yeah, when I got it in, it looked very undergraded. I bought it as a 9.4. Actually, you know what? I bought a G.I. Joe 21, and this was part of the deal. He sold a G.I. Joe 21 and 22. So I really got it for the 21. But this came with it. I thought it could get 9.8, but after I cracked it and worked on it, I think 9.4 is going to be the max. And we got the 9.4. So you're noticing that a lot of the time they're agreeing with me, whereas we do the CGC tends to be a little bit higher than me on my grading. I'm conservative, so it's just one grader. But this guy, for the most part, except for a couple instances, seems to be pretty conservative, like me. So that's fine. But it's just one grader. We'll see what happens over... I got one more submission coming back. We'll see what happens in that one. Then we'll do more, just depending on what happens with the auction and all that stuff. Okay, Batman Adventures 12. This one had... Really, the only defects on the book are down here. There's like 3 or 4 substantial ticks, which is pretty common on this book. But it's not like super... it's not all the books. It's just, probably a quarter to 40% or whatever. Have some kind of significant staple or tick issues right here. So they do discount that slightly. That being said, this is not a 9.8. I have this as a 9.4, 9.6 borderline. I actually have it as a leaning 9.6, but I can see it getting 9.4. And it got the 9.4. So this guy's just leaning a little bit on the harsh side, but not terribly so, not crazy so. I'm just glad the submission isn't all expected 9.8s and we're getting 9.6s. That would suck. But we'll be happy to get that 9.4 on that one. That's another good one to auction off to see how it does. All right. Got another Transformers. This is number 12. Yeah, this is a pretty obvious 9.6 with the, the outside chance of getting that 9.8. And he gives it 9.4. I mean, that's definitely harsh. This is a solid 9.6. Very, very solid 9.6. So I'll be interested to see all the graders' notes on these, because that's really harsh. That's not a 9.6. I mean a 9.4. Okay, we just got 3 more here. Okay, we got ASM number 194, first Black Cab. Okay, I had this one as a 9.4, 9.6 borderline again. Yeah, I mean, I bought it as a 9.4, and I'm expecting 9.4, maybe an outside chance of 9.6. Okay, I'm really happy about that one. We'll take the 9.6. If you're going to err on the side of getting a grade wrong, let's do it on this one on the high side and this one on the low side. So, yeah, I mean, 9.6 and 9.4s can be similar, but 9.4s generally have a lot of spine ticks compared to a 9.6 generally, unless there's some other issue. But that's generally the average buckle. That's the difference between a 9.4 and 6, is usually the spine's a little more jacked up. But this spine here on this one is pretty flawless. That's why I bought it in the first place, to go for the 9.8. But you can't win them all, so. All right, let's see if we get one of our... Okay, yeah, this is... Oh, I forgot I had this one. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, this one was also... This is the one I bought with the G.I. Joe 22. I didn't think I had submitted a book this big in this submission. I mean ASM 194. I guess I'm just going for it here. I really want to know how PSA compares for sales versus CGC. So that's why I submitted all these big books in here. I'm pretty sure that CGC would have given at least one of these big books a 9.8 by now. So I'm kind of hurting myself a little bit here. I'm taking one for the team, you might say. But I would like to get one of these big books in a 9.8, just so we can auction a 9.8 and see what comes back. But so far, we've only gotten, what? I guess the Mario. That's better than nothing, I guess. But let's just see. I had this as a 9.6, pretty solid 9.6. It's much nicer than this one. So, okay, we did get the 9.6. Really happy about that. CGC probably gives this 9.8 30-40% of the time. So this thing about PSA being looser, while they might be looser on 10s, I'm not seeing it on the rest of the books with this grader anyway. I'm seeing this guy's like, he's kind of like Harsh Harry on that side, but not quiet. He's like, maybe he's just accurate Andy. I don't know. Maybe accurate, but just slightly harsher than your average CGC grader. Okay, last book. Now this is the one that's an obvious 9.8. Bar none. Once again, this is just a little bit more defects than the Secret Wars 11 and the G.I. Joe 53 that got 9.6. So this one slam dunk a 9.8. And we did get the 9.8 on it. Okay. So I don't know, I didn't keep track, but the vast majority of these, they were pretty spot on with what I thought the grade was. Are they using my grading tool? That would be really cool. Yeah, I'll go back through this and I'll keep a tally and we'll figure out. Yeah, that's kind of eerie, because I haven't had a CGC submission where they agreed with me that much for a long time. So overall, I would say I like the grading on this. I think it's more consistent and better than CGC is typically. Once again, it's a sample size of one submission, but CGC's regular graders are all over the place. Generally in submissions, they're high, low, or almost never agreeing with me, The only time I get that is with their unlimited value or their vintage graders, which those tend to be their best graders. So this is one of the longest videos I've ever done. Even edited down, it's probably going to be, I'm sitting at 45 minutes of raw time right now. I'll probably be able to edit that down to maybe 35 or something, but hopefully I covered everything I could think of. But I'm going to throw these things in an auction like, today's Wednesday, I'm going to throw it in a 10-day auction like now. And by the time the other PSA comes back, maybe those auction results will be in, and we'll be able to report back and let you know what happened. Because I'm really curious. I'll put CGC last sale or two. Maybe I'll do the last few auctions with CGC average if I can find any. I'm sure there are in big books like a few of these. And, then we'll compare this one with that one. What percentage up or higher or lower are we? And then all the books will say the average percentage was 5% higher or 5% lower, or whatever, And it's a small sample once again, but be able to give you a pretty reasonable indicator of where the wind's blowing on that, at least right now for this submission. Maybe we'll do the exercise again and we'll keep a running tally and we'll figure out what's going on. So stay nerdy, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.